So he has a song called Be the Change, and I'm not going to sing it or rap it because he kind of does like this rap sort of thing. I'm going to just read it to you on behalf of this beautiful day and being the change and Mahatma Gandhi. This is dedicated to all spiritual activists, truth seekers, and peaceful warriors worldwide. I regard myself as a soldier of peace. Once upon a time, not long ago, there was a boy who would grow and become a great soul. He lived in India, and his name was Gandhi. He believed in human rights, and he fought for equality. He felt so strongly that he trained himself, because he realized first he'd have to change himself. He changed his clothes and decided to walk. Some days he practiced silence and refused to talk. When he was young, he studied to be a lawyer, and then he became a great spiritual warrior. He read from the scriptures of every religion, came to the realization that we're all God's children. Because he understood that we're all equal, he became a spokesman for the people. A karma yogi devoted to service, to spread truth and peace was his purpose. You got to be the change that you want to see in the world, just like Gandhi. Gandhi dedicated his life to the cause, even when it meant breaking unjust laws. He often faced prison and incarceration, but that only strengthened his determination. He said he would make every sacrifice, but that he would never kill or take a life. He used his heart instead of his fist, and he taught nonviolence as the way to resist. A peaceful soldier who used his mind to fight for the rights of humankind, but not just people, animals too. And his basic teaching, God is truth. He joined Muslims, Sikhs, and Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, Jains, and Jews, all the many paths that lead into the light that shines bright inside of me and you. You got to be the change that you want to see in the world, just like Gandhi. Gandhi taught an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, and it takes more strength and faith to be kind. With that in mind, Gandhi took a stand against the foreign occupation of his land. When things got violent, Gandhi would fast, not eating for days until the riots would pass. But the biggest event that made the British halt is when Gandhiji decided to harvest salt. The British Empire installed a salt tax, and stealing salt was an unlawful act. So Gandhi and his peeps took to the street. 10,000 deep, they marched to the beach, but when they arrived, they were beaten with clubs, but they didn't fight back. Instead, they chose love. The foreign military realized they were wrong and eventually decided to go back home. You see, Gandhiji was a very great leader, but before all that, he was shy and meager. As a young child, he was just like you and me, before he became Mahatma Gandhi. The word Mahatma, it means great soul, and it's inside of us, just waiting to unfold. If you follow your heart and act real bold, next time it'll be your story that's told. So that is beautiful, and just reiterating the last part, the word Mahatma, it means great soul. And on my way over here this morning, I was listening to this song repeatedly, had it on that loop, and I was thinking, so what would it be like if you just put Mahatma in front of your name, right? Mahatma Marin, and regard yourself as a great soul. Like you wake up and think about Mahatma. I don't think it's irreverent. I think it's a way for you to really get present to you. You are a point of consciousness on this planet. If we think of the earth as a body rather than just this rock that's flying through space really fast, that it's a body and a living organism is what it is, right? And we're all people, and we become these points of consciousness, like pins. If you know anything about acupressure or acupuncture, they put pins in your body. We as people are the pins of the earth. And so if we regard ourselves as great souls, then we wake up. Mahatma Elizabeth, Mahatma Kardam, Mahatma Chris, just like Mahatma Gandhi. So then we can begin to be that change. So thank you, Gandhi, for bringing that great spiritual lesson into the world. Today, we believe in the direct revelation of truth through the intuitive and spiritual nature of the individual, is a quote by Ernest Holmes. And along with this quote for today's topic was included in our outline that everyone is using, is it is impossible to plumb the depths of the individual mind because the individual mind is really not individual, but individualized. Behind the individual is the universal, which has no limits. In this concept alone lies the possibility of eternal and endless expansion. Everyone is universal on the subjective side of life, and individual only at the point of conscious perception. The riddle is solved, and we all use the creative power of the universal mind every time we use our own mind. So I watched the video that Dr. Ken Gordon produced and sent out. He does this monthly video, and they used that quote, and he related that there's that within us that always knows the answer, and we know that this is true. There's something in us that always knows the answer, no matter what. And he says you can test it out. If you have something quizzical within you that you want an answer for, you can go around and ask people, and you can ask like 3 or 4 different people, and you might get an answer from somebody and it just doesn't resonate with you, and you know that's not it, so you let it go, and then you ask a few more people, hey, what's the answer? And then as they respond, but suddenly if somebody, hits the nail on the head, you actually have an internal or visceral feeling about that, and you can make that connection. And so you can go out and test that. And there are different ways. That really brought me to be present with how we're playing, or for me, I'm playing hide and seek with God, like all the time. I keep finding it in amazing places, like just now with the with the projector and the screen and whatever was happening there. But not just that. I mean, I'm going to share in a few. I really wanted to share a couple of things and show the pictures of it. But now you're going to have to use your imagination, which I know you're going to be great at. So the first story that I want to share with you is about a silent retreat that I went on. And it was a 5-night silent retreat many years ago, and it was with Adyashanti. I don't know if you've heard of Adyashanti, one of my dear teachers. And it was a situation where, you come to the retreat and you have registration and orientation, and they tell you what it's going to be like, and you can talk. And it was at a Silomar, so there are different rooms. You can have a roommate, or you can have 2 roommates or 3 roommates, and the prices vary based on what you choose. And so I had the room situation with 1 roommate. And I got to talk to her when I got there and check in, and we unpacked and such, and a very brief conversation, and then we had to get over to orientation and hear like the safety talk and all of that. Anyway, then we go into silence at the end of that. So we go into silence, and then we go about our week of silence, and it just sounds kind of funny when I say it out loud. But then as I'm spending this time with this roommate in silence, and there's something very special about that, something very deep, and you begin to notice the subtle nuances with one another. I'm thinking in my head, why does she keep turning her light off and on over and over again? That's kind of annoying. But not saying anything. It just, you start to notice all these different things happening, you begin to tap into another dimension. That's really on the surface level. But anyway, so about the 4th day in, so this is 5 nights, and the 4th day into the retreat, I'm thinking, it would be really sweet if I were able to sit next to my roommate in meditation today. And I had that thought pop into my head as I was waiting in line in the meditation hall at about 7 a.m. And I was really excited, too, because I was going to sit up front that day. And I knew that I wanted to sit up front, and you're only supposed to sit up front one time while you're there so that everybody has a chance, during the week to be close. And so the doors open, I had that thought, the doors open, everybody starts to flood in, and there's already things on the seats, and I'm thinking, man, people are already here and set up. That was fast. And so I'm just making this beeline. My body is going in a direction, and it's as if I'm just following it, right? I'm not really thinking. There's no thought process happening. I'm just walking, and have you ever found yourself in that situation? You just walk, and then you turn left, and you turn right. Totally 100% guided by spirit, by something, right? And so I end up like in the second row from the front. I've had to make all these turns, and I go about 3 seats down, find my spot, and then one of the practices that we did was to bow to our chair, and then we turn around and bow to the stage, and then we would sit down. I did all of this, I sat down, and I looked over, and guess who was sitting right next to me? Right? My roommate. What? That is so cool. I loved that. That's like a kiss from God for me, because I also questioned it afterwards. Oh, did I create that, or did I, have a premonition, or what? None of that matters. Today, though, I have a realization that it's the intuition. Whether it got created by me or not doesn't matter, but there's something within me that knows. It's just like if you have an intention in your life, or there's something that you really want, and you can't even articulate it maybe with your own mind, you're going to move towards it. And then it's for whatever your perception of good or evil or bad, or whatever you think is good and bad. We know there's not good or bad, but it's your thinking that makes it so, right? So either one of those will lead you in that direction, whether it's good or bad, is the point that I'm trying to make. So you're always co-creating, and you're always moving in the direction of your soul. Your soul is the one leading the way. So that within us always knows the answer. And I heard also a silent communication takes place at all times between friends. That's from the Science of Mind, page 277. I love that. There's always a silent communication. And there's always, some people can see without the physical eye. It's called clairvoyance. Some people can hear without the physical ear, and that's called clairaudience. And then, so I'm doing a lot of research on my talk, and all of a sudden, I kept hearing, follow the nose. It always knows. And so I had to look that up and watch that little commercial. That's Toucan Sam. Do you remember? Follow my nose. He actually has this accent. I invite you to go home and listen to that on YouTube. It's really funny. But Toucan Sam, so he's the cartoon mascot for Fruit Loops, and the character has been in advertising since the 60s, and he exhibits the ability to smell Fruit Loops from great distances. And he always invariably locates a concealed bowl of the cereal while intoning, follow my nose, or follow your nose. It always knows. So anyway, what's that statement again? Follow my nose? I want to hear you guys say it. It always knows. One more time. Follow my nose. You're adorable, you guys. Follow my nose. It always knows. So if you ever find yourself in a situation that is something that you don't know what to do next, you can imagine that. It's humorous, it's funny, but it's also, for me, it's a great reminder. So Dr. Ken Gordon was sharing that you can go out and ask people, hey, what's the answer? What's the answer? Which is fine, but I also believe that it's also true that you can ask an inquiring question, self-inquiry. Rather than ask another person, you can ask your God self, which is you, your higher self, the thing itself, and the answer will come. I absolutely guarantee it, and I really believe that you just have to ask the question, because we're teaching that all of the answers are within you already. And so you have to listen, though. So the answer could show up for you in many different ways, but you've got to listen and then just go with the answer. or follow your nose, because it knows. It always knows. That's going to come up in a funny moment for you this week. I guarantee it. Follow my nose. Okay, so divine essence. It is within each of us. It's what we are made of. It's not like jelly in a donut or gases in a car. Hey, where's the rest of my notes? Yeah, it always knows. Oh, you guys are good. Okay. But it's not like jelly in a donut or gases in a car, it's not like, or coffee in a cup. We're actually made of the very same stuff that God is made of, just like we're made of the very stuff that our parents are made of. So if you were to look at your hands, you see the hands of your mom and your dad, probably one more so than the other, So we're made of the same God stuff in that respect. And it's their spirit within us. So we're connecting to that dimension within us, which is the source of us. And it's the kingdom of heaven. And there are moments in our lives when we experience this with great clarity. So like I said, I believe that you can ask a question, a self-inquiry. And they even have inquiry cards now. For a long time, there were these spiritual cards. There's hundreds and thousands of different types. Probably they got the Wayne Dyer cards, the Four Agreement cards, the Michael Beckwith cards, the Science of Mind cards. There's probably even cards for this book. But now, and they're the answers. Isn't that interesting? So now they have cards with questions. And the questions are various. It's in inquirycards.net if you want to check them out. But and I have no relation to them. The questions like, what's mine to do? Things like that, right? Or what is the best possible outcome? Personal inquiry cards. And so you have the ability to ask the question. So what is that? Try that in English. What that's pointing to, for me, is that internal presence, the divine essence that is within us all the time. So we live in San Luis Obispo. My beloved partner and I, and one day he and I decided to go for a short hike. We decided to go for a short hike, and it's at the hill right behind our house. And we were cruising around this hill, and we started sharing our gratitudes with one another. And all of a sudden, we started, you can feel your vibration begin to change when you start to think about different things. I don't know if you're present to that, but for me, it's really powerful. So we're sharing gratitudes, and I'm feeling this giddy joy start to bubble up and stir within me, and then we stop, and I'm drinking some coffee, and I look down on the ground, and there's a heart. And the heart, that was the picture, one of the pictures I wanted to show you. It's a heart with rocks in the formation of a heart. It was so cool. And so for me, that was such a holy moment. That was really a God moment for me. And I had a very similar experience about a year before that. I was visiting my parents, and I had gone on this amazing hike on the Central Coast overlooking the ocean. And it was like a 3-mile hike, and then I was on my way back. It's like 75 degrees in the middle of December, which is so awesome, right? And I'm hiking by myself, and I come to this fork in the hike, and I don't know which way to go. So there's one way that goes this way, and there's a little path that goes this way. This path is wide and clear, and it looks like the right path. And this path is kind of like the bushes have grown together, and it just doesn't, it looks like the shortcut path, which if you've done any hiking, you know that those can either be super steep or just really dangerous. So I'm sitting there going, I wonder which way I should go. That little toucan Sam moment, right? And I just, you contemplate for a moment. I'm waiting to get the feeling or the inspiration of which way to go. And I look down on the ground, and there's an arrow pointing down that way from rocks again. What? I thought that was so awesome. So, of course, I went that way, and it was fast and not dangerous. That was another holy moment for me, though. It's like the universe is responding to me. It's like God is providing all of these beautiful moments. It's like a universal love affair happening, you know? For me, I mean, and the skeptic could say, oh, somebody went ahead of you and put these things there. Well, maybe they did, and then, I just happened to be there in the right moment at the right time. Why is that? That's what I want you to contemplate on. Why is it that there is that perfect and right moment and you know when to show up just in time to have that happen? That's powerful, and that's a beautiful thing. So I got the 20-minute sign a minute ago. That's why I went, that happened way too fast. I just started. So the book of the month, I'm gonna wrap it up. The book of the month is Peace is Every Step. This is a great book. And there's a lot of little meditations. I downloaded it from audible.com also and listened to it on my drive up here from Slow. It's about a 3.5-hour book. Really great, really a guidebook for this month on how to begin to be the change. And it's really cool because there are specific practices for being, they're like a practice for living with somebody, a practice for eating a tangerine, like a mindfulness practice, a practice for doing the dishes, a practice for, he wants to do the dishes, he just laughed. He gave me this wide-eyed look. A practice for everything, and one of the things that he talks about, Thich Nhat Hanh, in one of his stories, he was in Montreal for a retreat, and he said, on all of the license plates, every time they would pull up to a car, he would see on the license plate, "Je me souviens." And he found out that means "I remember" in French. Let's pray. And so as we turn our attention inward in this moment now, we return to that beautiful, glorious inner sanctuary, that place within that I know is absolutely perfect and whole and complete exactly as it is. And it is from this place where I absolutely know that there is just one thing happening right here and right now, and it is God. And I'm grateful in this moment now for being in touch with that divinity within me, for that spiritual truth, the God self within me, that same essence that is within each one of us, the Mahatma within you, the Jesus within you, the Buddha, the God, the force, the truth, whatever you call it, Buddha, Atman, Allah, that is within each one of us. And so I'm grateful in this moment now to know and remember who I am and to claim for each one of us as we go forth in our day and our week and the rest of this month, that we remember who we are. And we hear two things. Je me souviens, I remember. Je me souviens, I remember. And we remember to follow our nose, because it always knows. And so we just allow that joyful giddiness to rise up from within our very soul in each and every day, and allow it to be remembered. We only have one life. It's not a dress rehearsal. This life is fun. This life is what we make it and allow it to be. And each of us are individual. And I know that we can claim and be the change that we want to see in the world, exactly as we are, however we're called to be. And so I simply say, thank you, God. Thank you, life, for this awesomeness, for this truth, this remembering of who I am. As I release my word out into that loving and creative action of the law, where I know that this word has already been made manifest before I even spoke it. And I know that it has been spoken through me. I release this word and allow it to be, and I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is. All right. Yay.